Llama here. I recently did a full playthrough on the island in Ark Survival Evolved on official PVE servers before they shut down, to prepare myself for Ark Survival Ascended. The entire series took me on a journey from day 1, level 1, with nothing, to the final Alpha Overseer fight on the day the official network went down. It spanned 23 episodes over 2.5 months. Now, during this playthrough, I learned a number of things I would do differently next time, and also, now with more information available about ASA, not much admittedly, but a little, there are some methods I would need to adjust to meet the new game requirements. This video walks through those things I learned, and also covers the things I would do differently next time. As ASA is only a matter of days away now, next time is rapidly drawing closer to this time. So I wanted to share my learnings from the playthrough, and I hope you all get something out of it of benefit. So my first episode was on leveling your character. To be honest, I got a lot of feedback on this video with lots of good tips on how to level, and with the announcement of no movement speed leveling, and that Explorer notes would be in the game but would likely be in different locations, I did a whole new video just on leveling. So I won't go through it all again, but there's a link above if you're interested. So next, episode 2 was Taming a Flyer. I picked the age-old favourite of a pteranodon to get around, and then used that to trap and tame an Argentavis. As my levelling approach will change to actually use rafts to level up my character, this also gives the opportunity to add an Argentavis trap on a raft and skip the pteranodon entirely. Now, I know structures will be changing and the old ASA traps may not work anymore, but even if I have to resort to using the old dinosaur gate trap, jumping straight to an RG seems like a good idea. Better stam, tankier, better weight and melee, even on a low level one. Which brings me to episode 4, the kibble farm setup. Now, in the series I used dodos for basic kibble, ichthyornis for regular kibble, moss chops for superior kibble, and then therizzinos for the exceptional kibble. And eventually I added udis for extraordinary kibble, but that was later on in the series. My learning here was that for the most part, moss chops would actually have been sufficient. They're an easy tame, and combined with an oviraptor for the egg laying buff, just 4 moss chops females would churn out plenty of eggs for most of your tames. The theris are still the most compact for exceptional kibble, but if you're also breeding rexes, you'll soon have plenty of eggs, so no need to overdo it with them. I would still tame 1 ichthyornis, really just to get the golden buffed fish, which will help you tame an otter, but I wouldn't tame them for kibble eggs again. And the noise Dodo makes just does my head in, and I never even use the basic kibble, so definitely wouldn't bother with them. Episode 5 was hatching and raising. Mainly how to do this with no incubator. I covered off the obvious ones like torches, campfires, and of course air conditioners, but as some pointed out, there are other options. Dimetrodons can also be used to regulate egg temperatures. If you tame one for this, level its melee to improve its effect, and if it's a higher tier egg you're hatching, then you might need more than one. They're a bit painful to tame, but I used them back when I was playing Primitive Plus, and they do work well. The other option is an otter. They work pretty much the same as a Dimetrodon, but they're easier to tame. For raising on the playthrough, I did use cryopods. Now, while I avoided using them for most of the playthrough, as I had my suspicions that they wouldn't be an ASA at launch, I did use them to pause maturation of babies while I did other things, like go to work or sleep. In ASA, you'll need to plan your baby raising and cancel all other plans for the time it will take, as once you hatch that egg, it doesn't stop for anything. Alternatively, obviously if you're part of a tribe, you can share the raising responsibilities, but imprints will still be a challenge unless you know and trust your tribe mates well enough to share your login details with them. In episode 6, I laid out my taming plan. Now largely it would remain the same, but I would make a couple of changes. With no cryopods, I probably wouldn't bother with a Megatherium, as I don't tend to use them for the broodmother. I only really use them in the swamp cave, and unless they widen the cave tunnel, which they might, the Megatherium doesn't fit. Plus, I would absolutely add frogs, but I'll get to why shortly. Other than this, maybe the Thyla isn't necessary. If you have a good baryonyx, you can run most caves with that, but they are a lot of fun and they're great for getting around in general, so I'll probably still tame one of those. Now, while a giga or even carch is nice to have, I did the entire playthrough without either. I just didn't find any that were worth taming. Spawns of these are low and the competition for them will be intense on officials early on. So in my opinion, they're probably not worth the effort or the aggravation, on PvE at least anyway. The next learning was a small one from episode 10, the artifact of the Hunter Cave. If you have tamed a Megatherium, I was surprised to find this guy actually fits in the cave. So assuming the entrance stays the same in ASA, you do need to bring a pick because there's some overhanging crystal which will stop you getting back out that you'll need to harvest. But the bugs in this cave make it a great chitin farm for cementing paste with a Megatherium. Then in episode 12, I used the Leopleurodon buff to boost the loot in the crates found in the artifact of the Brute Cave. This got me some decent flak BPs and some nice shotguns. But I would maximise the buff by running the Brute Cave and then the Swamp Cave. You have to travel between them because fast travel with beds cancels the buff, but the Swamp Cave was by far the best source I found for saddle BPs. Looking at what might change with ASA, I fully expect the Brute Cave will be harder. The spawns on officials seem to be less than they once were, and the respawns were slow and very limited. It felt like it was a bit broken. So it might not be the walk in the park it was when I did this playthrough. Skip to episode 18, the Hard Ice Cave, solo on foot. This was one of my proudest achievements of the series as I genuinely went in there thinking it couldn't be done. So much so, I didn't bring enough gear. My tip here is to bring as many grapple hooks and shotgun shells as you can carry. The tech rifle makes a great backup, an element is light, and it also helps getting the Palovia out of the ground. But watch the durability. If you hit too many rocks, its dura drops quickly, like a rocket launcher does. I'm hoping they fix the crossbow reload glitch with ASA, and if they do, then using the grapples will be much better, and with the exception of narrow tunnels, you can simply skip over a lot of stuff without needing to kill it. It's highly likely they will change the crouch point entry for this cave, as there's been a lot of talk about it, particularly from a PvP perspective, so you might actually be able to bring tames in with you in ASA. But I wouldn't expect to take anything too big in though, but in the long term, with mutations, something like wolves or maybe even thylas could be an option. We'll have to wait and see. Next, episode 19 was the Swamp Cave. Now someone suggested using frogs. I really didn't think they'd last the distance, but I was prepared to give it a go. I have to admit I was wrong. I took 2 imprinted frogs in, no mutations, just bred tames, and they smashed it. Cementing paste for days. The only thing I would change is take more armour and gas masks, because the arthros will still get you on frogs. Oh, and health brews. Like the ice cave, I went in there expecting to fail, so I didn't take too much gear with me. Happy to admit I was wrong on this one. Frogs for the win. Now, to finish off, let's talk about the tech cave for a bit. So for Gamma and Beta, I used cryopods. You could do this in PvE on officials, but it didn't work on PvP. Now, whether this will be possible on ASA, we'll have to wait until cryopods are available again. But if I'm running the tech cave, I'm going to need to walk all my tames all the way down. Following some discussions with some people afterwards on the topic, a few things emerged. Assuming you're not in a mid to large tribe, this cave could be run with allies. You don't all have to be in the same tribe to run it, and if you can find some like-minded people on your server who are at a similar stage in the game progression, then it would make sense to join forces and take it on together. That way you're not trying to lead 20 to 30 dinos down that cave in the time limit while battling your way through on your own. If, however, you are committed to doing it solo, consider the tames that you take. A strong Yuti pair with high melee and health will help clear the cave, and their fear roar will unearth the Palovia. A pair of Rexes will also work for this, or a Giga or Karch if you have one. Remembering though that the Gigas and Karches won't go into the Overseer fight, so you'll have to leave them behind. Your main force for the Overseer though should be Therazinos. They have a much smaller footprint as a group, and they seem to follow better, so they're less likely to fall in the lava. Now hopefully we'll see the pathfinding for following dinos improve with ASA, but we'll have to wait and see. I would also bring a pig to heal, or Daedon, to heal your crew before you go into the fight. Less important if your Theres have plenty of veggie cakes on them, but it's worth bringing one in case your Utis or your Rexes need healing before you go in. Now, Alpha Tech Cave. So based on my experience, the Archaeopteryx, while maybe a bit of a cheesy way of getting through the cave, worked a treat. My main learning for this fight was, yeah, you guessed it, bring more ammo. As many shotgun shells as you can carry, multiple tech rifles, lots of element. That was my biggest enemy there, that and time, which there's no time limit on the Overseer fight, but there was a time limit on the servers. So that's my wrap up of the series. Look, I had a lot of fun playing and recording it, and I really feel about as prepared as I can be for the launch of ASA. I hope the series helped you prepare too, and if it did, maybe drop me a like. If you like the content, subscribe to the channel. This will be my last Ark Survival Evolved video, and with ASA coming soon, we can explore how the new game is different and how the approach to the game needs to adjust to succeed. I hope you join me on the journey, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. I'm Llama, and I'm out of here.